Today we're working on our 2005 Moomba Mobius with the Indmar Assault V8, and we've already done the winterization, got the water pump out, or water impeller. I got a new one sitting there, but I'm not going to put that in until springtime. Got some of the ballast system drained and disassembled. We'll be doing some upgrades on that. I'll hopefully do a video on some of those upgrades to the stock ballast system. And now it's time for a tune-up. I just bought this boat at the end of the season and was assured, of course, that all the maintenance had been done by a mechanic, but what I'm finding doesn't really match up with that. We'll start with checking out the distributor cap. I've already got the screws loosened up. I believe it still has the original plug wires. They're Indmar plug wires on there. And if you look, that does not look pretty. There's some corrosion and crust in the bottom of that where the distributor cap sits, corrosion on the fasteners there, corrosion there. The top of the contact on the top of the rotor is corroded, and you're seeing the black, which I believe is an evidence of arcing, so bad contact. The tip of the rotor is corroded pretty badly. Looks like there's a piece of plastic that's from the rotor down in the bottom. And on this side, there's actually a metal contact. So this, I'm surprised it was running as well as it was. If it should run a lot better next year and hopefully run a lot more efficiently. And yep, not to my surprise, the contacts in here are absolutely atrocious. I've never seen a cap and rotor this bad. Not that I've worked on a lot of boats, but this is just horrible. This may be the original rotor. It's hard to say. It's an 18-year-old boat. Hopefully it's not the original cap and rotor, but so we're gonna get that changed first. Start changing plug wires. I've had the spark plugs out, and let's see if I can find one that's handy here. And the plugs aren't too great either. The gap seems huge, but I just, from my recent research, it looks like they do run a pretty large gap on these plugs compared to most automotive applications that I'm used to that are closer to 32 thousandths. I think these are like 42 thousandths or so, and in some cases they run, I think multi-port injection may run like 60 thousandths. I don't recall for sure, but anyway, still I think this gap is bigger than it should be, and these plugs are pretty shot. So we've got some work to do here. I'm going to do a full tune-up. Unfortunately, we won't know how much better it runs until next spring, but we'll get there. So we'll start with the cap and rotor, I believe. Okay, now that we got power again, apparently I've got a GFI that's going out or having some issues because we couldn't get power, had to switch outlets, and so now we can vacuum this up. Holy cow, that is not good. Not good. That is really, really corroded. So before I put another one of those on, I think I'm going to have to clean it up with a Dremel or something. Get something in there to clean that up. So that's gonna slow things down. All right, set that aside. But we could still go on to replacing this. So even though I'm going to replace the plug wires, I think we're going to put these plug wires on the new cap so we can keep track of what plug wires go where, and then take the plug wires off of the new cap one at a time so we can keep track of where they go and get the right lengths to the right locations. And one other thing I noticed is some of these plug wires have some pretty deep cuts in them on both sides. I found that a couple places, and it appears that this cover was digging into those plug wires. So that's something I'm gonna keep an eye on. When I put these plug wires back on and put that cover back on, make sure that they're routed in a way that that's not gonna cut into those plug wires again, because that's not a good situation. So, all right, well, we're gonna start pulling these plug wires off that. We've got a new Quicksilver cap and rotor set. That's what it should look like. Let's see, there's orientation. Take off this retainer. So that's number 5. Just gonna work my way around here, and of course these are not coming off very well because they've been on there for so long. Rubber seems to kind of grip on to the cap. That's all the ones on this side. Coil wire. Old cap is free. These are not labeled as Indmar, but they are Taylor 8mm wires. I'm guessing they're similar quality to what's on there from Indmar, but without the Indmar price tag. Came with a little packet of dielectric grease for all the connections. Looks like I don't have a Dremel, so we're gonna make the most of it and use a stiff brush here and see if I can't clean this up good enough for now. All right, that's better. I'm not gonna put a new rotor on there until it's cleaned up a lot more though, because it's corroded enough that new rotor's not gonna slide on there very well. So it's gonna require some serious cleanings, maybe some sanding. So yeah, we'll move on to the plug wires now. Start with number 1. I gotta find the right length plug wire. I think that'll do. I decided to start doing the plugs at the same time I do the plug wires. So I decided to start doing plugs at the same time I was doing the plug wires, so I don't have to connect and disconnect them again. So I got out the manual for the engine to confirm plug gap. And it looks like, so this is the 5.7 liter TBI engine. So it looks like, since these are non-platinum plugs, they're gonna be 45 thousandths of an inch gap and 60 thousandths for the platinum, which is platinum's what I took out. And I did check them, and they actually were at the proper gap. I'm just not used to seeing a gap that large, because I've never seen an automotive application with that kind of gap, at least stock automotive applications. So we're going to gap these new plugs at 45 thousandths, which they seem fairly close to that, just a little under that as bought. So going to gap these and start putting them in. So as you can see, the ones I bought are the WR43 LTS. Those are the non-platinum plugs. I wasn't going to spend well over $100 just for plugs. All right, we've got the torque wrench set at 11 foot-pounds, my understanding per the GM manual for the 5.7 liter. I'm going to put the camera down to torque these properly, since I don't have a cameraman right now. Now I'm taking off the number 3 plug wire, which goes to the plug that's second from the front on the left side of the engine. I'm going to match that one up, and I am putting the dielectric grease on the ceramic part of the plug wires. My understanding, that's where you, ceramic portion of the spark plugs, so that the rubber does not bond to the spark plugs and make it easier to makes it easier to pull the plug wires off in the future. My understanding is you do not need it or want it on the contacts of the plugs themselves. So there is a difference between the distributor cap end of the spark plug wires and the spark plug end. The distributor cap end has these two ridges on it. If I can get this to focus, but there are two ridges on the distributor cap end, and those are not on the spark plug end. So that's how you differentiate the one from the other. That's assuming that these plug wires that are on here are installed properly, but I'm pretty sure they are. So that's what I'm going with, is putting the end with the ribs on the distributor cap the same way they are currently. And because the holes do seem to be a little different in the hole diameter, so we're gonna make sure we do it the same, assuming the spark plug end is a little smaller diameter. Well, I cleaned up the shaft that the rotor slides on to the best I could. I don't know how well you can see that, but it is really corroded, and the new rotor was not wanting to slide on. I'm going to put some dielectric grease on that, just since that's the best stuff to use around electrical components to hopefully get it to slide on. So we'll try that and see what happens. Let's see. It has a keyway and a flat spot. It's hard to know how far this is supposed to go on. I just don't want to break it or force it, but hopefully that'll do. We'll find out next year, I guess, when we go to run it. The little groove that sits in. All right, then we just have the coil wire and one more plug wire to do, and then we'll be done with that part of the project. I want to show you with a little better lighting the condition of the cap and rotor. I don't know if it's focusing very well, but yeah, it is really corroded. You can see the marks from the arcing, I think. Then it was actually, there's the metal contact that was inside of here is actually, it was laying in the bottom of the distributor there. And I'm gapping these plugs at 45 thousandths, which I've got a 25 and a 20 thousandths gauge here, feeler gauge. There we go. Take out this last plug. Thought it was finger tight. We're torquing these to a 11 foot-pounds, which doesn't seem like much. A lot less than what I used to when I would just do the snug and then quarter turn method. But I'm gonna follow the torque specs. All right, lastly, we'll be replacing the coil wire. This is the coil. Wait a second here. Oh. I think we messed up.
What?
We've got the coil wire plugged into the wrong spot.
Wait, isn't?
All right, well, we got to figure this out. Okay, I think we got the plug wires all straightened out. We just had the coil wire and one of the other ones mixed up. So I think we got her squared away, but if it doesn't run right next spring, we'll know why. So that finishes up the tune-up on this. I don't think we have anything left to do this year except work on some upgrades over the winter. We'll probably work on adding a ballast bag and maybe plumbing that into some of the stock system, but that's the only other thing I'm planning on working on before next spring. And then we'll be trying it out again next year. Now that we've kind of got a few things dialed in and get it running right, next year will be the true test, and when we start doing a little more wake surfing and getting used to how this boat operates. Thanks for watching. Be sure to click the like button and subscribe if you like our content. Thanks. Bye.